Jim Carrey and Steve Carell, because
Yes.
they were both so funny in that movie and so talented. But it was incredible. I mean, I was on JAG at the time.
Yes.
And they had to write me out of an episode of JAG so that I could go do this. And I was like, yes, please, yes. That was such an amazing opportunity. The day I met Jim, we had to do our kissing scene. So it was like, hi, nice to meet you, and we're gonna make out soon, so let's have lunch together, let's kind of, break the ice a little. So he was super nice. He invited me to, he had like a compound with like 4 trailers set up with a square in the middle. So he had privacy, and we had lunch and we chatted, and I asked him how were you so funny? And he said, well, you start off with a really effed up childhood. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well, I don't have that. So, but anyway, he was hilarious, and we did our kissing scene with chewing gum, so right before the scene. And then the director yells rolling, and he's like, oh, here, stick your gum under the nightstand. And we actually stuck our gum under that nightstand. And we kissed. So it was amazing. And it's funny because I think it was just a few years ago, one of my kids called me and said, Mom, you were on Friends? Like, couldn't believe it. They were rewatching it, and everyone knows the name, the one with the baby on the bus. So really cool. People always ask me, what's your favorite show? And it's very hard to say because they're all so amazing and different. Hi guys, sorry, I feel like I'm pointing this way. This way. But I think on JAG, it was my first series. I was young, I didn't have kids. It was like you said, it was 25 episodes a year. We were 10 months a year, 18 hours a day. We were on jets and aircraft carriers and down at Camp Pendleton in San Diego. And, I mean, it was a cool show to be a part of. So it's not that I wasn't aware of it, because I was at the time. I was always like, wow, where are we? We were on a carrier out at sea for 3 days, sleeping in officers' quarters for
Really?
nights. Yeah, one of the episodes we did that. And would love to relive any of those moments, because the military they were on board. They supported our script. Almost every once in a while, they would give their stamp of approval, which meant that we could film on their bases and use their tanks and ships and things. And every once in a while, they wouldn't approve an episode, and that just meant we couldn't use their toys.
Sure.
And it was usually if we didn't make them look so great, like if there was something that they did that wasn't so good. So that was the only time that we didn't get their approval. But it was all just. I get starstruck sometimes. Every once in a while, you see someone. Oh wow. Tom Cruise. The first time I met him, I was like, you guys spend all the time with him here and there. And every time he was talking to me, I was just like, I don't know, couldn't remember what I said after. Learned from Tom Cruise, because I'd watch him do that. And I went to some dinners and things with a group of people with him, and he did that, like with each person, with staff and whoever, he just look them in the eye and thank them. And every moment was special, even if it was really brief, And I learned that's, if you're in a bad mood or you're tired as an actor and you run into someone on the street, they're going to remember that moment forever. So I have been tired. I have had bad news and things occur in my life, and whatever, we have life, right? But when you meet that person for that moment, even if I keep it brief, you just got, that's what they're going to remember. So I would never be rude. We're all human beings. We're all I was raised that way, And at these in particular, people are coming to see you, and they're coming because they're fans. They watch your show. Your show meant something to them in some way. They watched it with their father or their grandfather who's going off their ground, or some special thing. And I want to hear that story. So I'm there. I'm there with you. Tell me about that, and I do care, and it means a lot to me. And that's why I'm acting, and that's why I'm still acting, and you guys are still watching my stuff, which means a lot, and I appreciate it. So thank you. I actually took an acting class when I was 19 because I was very shy. Didn't want to be an actor. That terrified me. But I used to do things that scared me on purpose, because if something scared me, and if I did it and pushed myself to do it, I was then less scared of it, and I became stronger. And I learned to ride a motorcycle that way, and I did skydiving that way, and the acting class was the next thing. And I was like, this terrifies me, but maybe it'll help me communicate better and be a little less shy. And I ended up really loving it. When I started as Mac, I feel like I was kind of faking being a strong woman. When I watched those early episodes, I cringed, because I was kind of trying to have a little bit of a deeper voice, and I'm like, I'm really tough, don't mess with me, And I feel like when you're on a TV show, it's day after day, it's episode after episode, and you start to meld a little bit with the character. The character becomes a little bit of you become a little bit of her. And so that strength, I think, just kind of, that inner strength where you don't have to show it, but you just know you can handle it. it was one movie, you know. The producer came to me and it was an offer, which is, I always tell this story. I'd done JAG and I think I'd done one season of Army Wives. And she came to me with an offer for Good Witch, and I thought, how does she even know I can play this character?
Sure.
Because my roles were nothing like that, but I guess it was Orly Adelson was the producer, and she had heard that from my casting person, that I was more like Cassie in person. So she literally offered me a role based on a casting person's idea of me, and we thought it was one movie. It was a Halloween movie, and they tried it out, and it did great. And then we did a sequel, and we did another sequel, and every year when I had a hiatus from my series, because I was on Army Wives, I think, at that time, we did more and more and more. And then Army Wives ended, and Hallmark said, hey, let's turn this into a series. And that's how that happened. I definitely had some say in what I wore, and every once in a while Hallmark would say no, they didn't like a certain color or a certain thing, but we would fight for stuff, and sometimes we'd win. And I got to keep a certain amount each year. Sometimes I'd like have a huge pile, and the producers would come back and go, you gotta whittle that down, you can't take everything home. I mean, they had beautiful, like, Gucci coats and like all these crazy things, amazing heels, and so I kept some of it for sure. And I think it's like so much fun to be able to dress these wild characters. I wouldn't wear a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff that Good Witch wore, especially in the beginning. I think she had wilder clothes, which was pretty fun. What's that? Yes, more bohemian, right, and it kind of changed over the years, and so the show changed as well, just depending on who was running the network and who the writer was, but yeah, super fun. Yes, there was finally some plans for another movie or two. Yes, but it took, yes, exactly, very exciting. We've been trying the show ended 4 years ago, and all of us, James Denton, Catherine Bishop, were all like, guys, we need to do another movie. All our fans were like, why are you guys not doing more movies? But they had new executives running the network, and they wanted to do different things. Happens. And so they just brought back Michelle Vickery, who ran the network for 22 years. And we met like the first week she was back. She said, I want you back on, and I want to do it for you.
So you said unofficially, but now that we're talking about it, can we say officially?
Well, they haven't written the script, but it has been requested and it is in the works.
So we'll say in development.
In development,
In
yes.
development.
And I usually have what we call a dicky, like a little cut like basically the shirt, but then cut right over my tank top. And so sometimes I'd be wearing that. Other times you take off the heels and put on like UGG slippers or something. So here I am walking around the ship, and at one point I had like a full uniform on, but I had the slippers on because I'm walking to the set, you can't walk in heels. And these poor young guys, they would literally like see me and see the shoes and then be so confused, but then they'd snap to and like, call me ma'am, and I'm trying to explain to them like, oh no, I'm an actress, I'm not.
Sure.
Because they're thinking I'm a major or probably lieutenant colonel at the time or something. And the guys with me were like, don't even bother, because they're not going to hear a word you said. They just see your stripes, they see that you're a lieutenant colonel. They're like, ma'am, getting out of my way. So they said to just say, as you would, carry on.
So you did say as you would.
Yeah, because when I'm trying to stop and explain to them, they don't even hear you. They're just like, like staring straight ahead when they're much lower range.
Method acting. That's incredible.
That's my little power trip, as you were. Carry on, soldier. No.
How you doing, everybody? You doing all right? Having a good weekend? It's come back to life so many times. Now it's zombies, Futurama. It keeps on rising from the dead. Oh yes.
Yeah, when Fox canceled it, then they found out lots of people is watching the DVDs.
Yeah, exactly. They lost it.
More people watching us.
Yeah.
So,
No, but it's been
so the show came back.
It's been good, and everybody's made a stink about it. So we thank the fans for that. You guys.
Yes.
You guys. So I came in and I introduced myself and I said, hey man, I'm John. I worked with your brother Bill for years. He's like, oh yeah, really? What? I was like, Futurama. He's like, oh yeah, what are you doing Futurama? I was like, well, I'm Bender. He was like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. He was like, dude, listen, we're glad to have you. And I'm like, I'm glad to be had. It's great to be here. And so started shooting stuff. And you know, I was surrounded by all these like construction guys, these big macho dudes. They're all like, as soon as they found out I was Jake the dog, they turned into 13-year-old kids. Dude, man, are you serious? Oh my God, man. Yeah, man. Like, you know, tattoos and, you know, beards and everything, and they're just going, oh man, oh bro, that's so cool.
Well, I think the only way I got into cartoons was because I got to be in a Quentin Tarantino. Well, because getting shot by somebody as legendary as John Travolta got me hired for a sketch show.
There it is.
And when you do a sketch show based on Mad Magazine, you do some animation. And that's how I got to work with the creator of The Simpsons. And being alongside John DiMaggio makes you good in a cartoon.
For the most part, we like to record the show all together because it just makes it.
Yeah, because then it's not just you talking, you get to perform a scene.
Yeah.
But also, getting started in cartoons, and like having a first episode in a room with Billy West, doing 3 characters talking to each other in 3 different voices.
Yeah.
That's like playing a basketball game with Michael Jordan.
My beatbox is a trap set. It's just bass and drums and a hi-hat. That's all it is. And then if you add a scratch to it, you know, so then you put them together and you.
So now you're in that Star Wars universe.
I got
What's that kind of reaction?
It was such a joy. Well, because, you know, I mean, I started loving Star Wars when I was 10, when that movie came out. But I got lucky because I was working on Samurai Jack, and they shut down Samurai Jack, because they needed Genndy Tartakovsky to pick up something for George Lucas. He started making Star Wars cartoons. And eventually they moved to Dave Filoni, and he made the half-hour. Like, Genndy only made 5-minute cartoons. But then they started making the 30-minute cartoons that George put into a movie.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I got to play a Jedi. Well, a Jedi that didn't talk in the movie.
Yeah, so you got to add to the universe, though. You're like,
Well, but
okay,
also,
they can talk.
in the cartoon, they had me doing Bail Organa.
Yes.
I guess Jimmy Smith was too busy to come in.
Yeah.
I'm too busy shooting my face. I don't have time to come to a cartoon.
Yes, first of all, you know him as Wash. Let's bring out Alan Tudyk! You know him as Let's bring out King Puerto Chita Torres! Let's bring out Sean Mayer! You know what's up,
I think as artists, we live our lives as brown coats, right? Hey, how about that? I just pulled that out of have to be able to find a way into situations and then rapidly out of them sometimes. So, I mean, I would say just daring to live a life as artists and creators is a year-round program.
That's a great answer.
The lack of elasticity in my pants absolutely informed how I would find comfort on a spaceship. I stood and leaned a lot.
I mean, I did, yes. I stole, but I didn't get to steal what I wanted. I wanted my steering wheel. That some of it was on there. Brown coat solution to that. Getting that thing off, a blowtorch or something to just cut through it. Acetylene torch. So, you know, something. I stole the button. I've talked about this before, so we're going to just go along with it. There's the button from Love Jackson's Out of gas. Thank you. Out of gas. Where everybody leaves on the shuttles and leaves Mal behind. And I have a button there and I say, hey, when your miracle gets here, just hit this button, we'll all come running. And because that was put on separately, it wasn't nailed down. That thing just came right off in my hand. I took it home and I kept it on my desk for a while, but then I heard about, Joss was trying to get this crazy movie made about a show that was canceled. And it didn't seem like the button was mine. Every time I looked at it, I was like, I don't feel like that's mine, that show that Joss is.
So I think some of my favorite moments on set was watching Alan try to get the Mandarin correct, and then getting so frustrated when it didn't work. We all got, once upon a time, there's something called a cassette. And so we get our Mandarin recorded on the cassette, play it back. I only had to do it once.
And you just kind of learn it phonetically as you
And mine was Shama, which sounds like Sean Mark.
Wow.
But Alan, why don't you say something?
Evelyn Nathan got the worst of it. I got some. I remember getting some. But what was so crappy about it was that you never got it in a scene where you kind of take your time with it. You kind of, like casually throw it out there. No, it was always like some ridiculous, like they were coming for you, they were readers, and so you had to say it at like this, like neck-breaking speed and just spill out of you. I was like, no.
No.
It doesn't spill out of you. So yeah, we all just really.
Yeah, I was frustrated. I was frustrated with the writers. I think that's my frustration. I wasn't frustrated with myself. I was pointing at others. I was blaming. The frustration of blame. Because I remember one was like, it would be like, of all the 100 farts of elephants, the one that stinks the worst is the one that I smell now. I'm like, why would I do that? Kada from the white shoe. It was one that what? That was something about elephant farts. It was a scene with Sarah Tomko. She comes in and she's like, all my dreams are coming true. Am I psychic? And my line was, I think you just have a you have residual, thank you. You have residual thing. You have residual alien blood in your system. It'll pass the time. And I was like, why do I just know that? I feel like I should see. And I said, Sarah, just go with it. And so we did the rehearsal, and she goes, am I psychic? I said, sit down. Let me see. I stuck one finger in her nose and one finger in her ear. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be some residual alien blood. Let me look in your eyes. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Why is this one bigger than the other one? And that's a thing. So
And after HR called. I really enjoy not getting up at 5 in the morning to get dinner and makeup.
Oh, wow, really? You prefer voiceover?
I prefer not getting up at 5, I swear. You have to kind of shift gears because you use your body in a very, very different way, getting your vocal performance out, as opposed to when you can rely on to do things that your voice doesn't have to do when you're on camera. So that's the difference, but it's all.
It's a very lonely
Yeah.
job. Not even, I don't get dialogue on the other end. But you've done something.
I've done, yeah, it's usually you're alone though, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's rare times that you're together, and in Wreck-It Ralph, I only did one scene, one day of recording with John C. Reilly. But those are the best scenes that we had. Like, when I watched them, they're a different level of connectedness. So it's a shame that it doesn't. Here's one. I had this with a woman last weekend. Bless her, she's wonderful. She came, she was in a costume, and she was pregnant. And I said, is this part of your, we were doing portrait. I said, is this part of your costume, or is this you? She said, oh, this is me, I'm pregnant. She's like, he's kicking right now, do you want to feel it? And I said, sure. And I put my hand on her stomach, she went, lower. Lower. And it was right about the time I was on her cervix that I realized there might not be any kicking. That belongs in a condom. That's what we had in that show. Yeah.
I'm a big old Lord of the Rings fan. And so
I miss the slow roll into a story. I mean, our attention spans have gotten so short that it feels like we're just rushing into some kind of uninformed action. And we all have to get there at the same time, and we all have to get there within 5 minutes to get locked in. And there's something, I don't know, it's just, it's this delicious sort of experience to live with a character for a minute and figure out, not know where they're gonna go, and maybe have it be a surprise. Maybe it's not gonna end up where you think it's gonna end up. And you need time to do that, and you need the patience to be able to do that. And I love that about Firefly. You know, there was somebody in my line today that said, I introduced my partner to this, and you know, I said, just give it two episodes. Just give it 2 episodes, and it's true. By the end of the 2nd episode, you're like, oh, I know where I am, and I'm in. And there's something wonderful when you're that invested. I think that's happened. There's a reason why you all are here. It's like you invested in these characters, and you wanted to see them all the way through. And so I miss that about storytelling.
And if you like the first 2 episodes, wait till you see season 2.
Oh my God. Just wait for it.
Generalize the entire experience real quick.
Just real quick.
Well, I heard there was a cat named Piper today, a baby named Prue, a birthday girl who's 17 named Piper, and that's really all I can ask for.
That's great.
Although I didn't hear about any dogs, though. Thank
There you go.
Thank you.
And yesterday was signed, there was a daughter that was Paige and a
Yes.
daughter that was Piper.
And And Paige has a sister that's named Phoebe.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later though.
The keys, baby. For me, it's just been like, honestly, the honor of a lifetime to be part of a multi-generational, multi-magical, multi-dimensional experience with all of you and your family, and to have been woven throughout the years and hopefully more years to come. I understand falling into a trash can. I do. Because for some reason, every season, there'd be one moment where I'd have a ridiculously high fever, be really sick, and you couldn't call in sick. And that was always the day they dumped me, the stunt team, from like the second or third story into a giant trash can. And I'd be like, when you just want to be home, like kind of shaking, that was the only time I'd be like,
I think I was in that dumpster with you.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But honestly, it was just usually I would come on set, I don't know, smash into something on a wall and kind of make a noise, and I'd hear Holly from like a stage away going, "Oh, Rose." That's how we started our morning.
You know, and I wanted to do the stunts on that movie because I was 19 and didn't know any better. So, I did get hit by the car too. And I did realize, they asked me if I wanted pads, and I was like, what? I'm gonna pop up on the hood. Like, what do I need pads for? Oh, because the bumper hits your knees.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, a lot of mishaps. But, thankfully by the end of Charmed, I was like, we have lovely stunt ladies that would like to do this for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I would start the season really gung-ho for like, I'll do all the stunts. I love doing physical action. And then like cut to 3 months later, and just the exhaustion is set in. I'm like, absolutely, Dana, you take it. This means I have 47 minutes to memorize the 10 pages for tomorrow. This is amazing. Thank you. But I did a lot of stupid things, I would say, in movies. Great things that look great on screen, but I worked specifically with the director who would always say, pain is temporary, film is forever. And I was like, yeah, good point.
Season or moment? Both. I go between season 3 and 4 because I find that's where we felt most confident and kind of knew what we were doing. As opposed to season 1 and 2, I think we were just trying to figure out how things worked and what didn't. Whereas 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of, was just trying to keep it alive and keep the audience engaged. So yeah, I go between 3 and 4.
4, I had no idea what was going on.
But neither did Paige, so that worked.
Right. No, it was actually quite perfect. I mean, quite literally the first time, in the scene where she's like, the candle comes to her. She calls the candle, and everyone, it was a well-oiled machine at that point, mostly. And someone said, okay, now you order. And I was like, what is that? How do I do that? And I think they just forgotten to. So it was so perfectly in line with Paige growing within the show and coming into her powers and understanding. That actually was kind of a godsend. Yeah.
I mean,
Because everybody loves Leo.
Fireman Dan.
yeah, I mean,
Mr. Perfect.
Well, yeah.
He was, the first one was really
Deep tissues massage.
Yeah, I was like pleased that there was a great actor from Mexico, and he was very famous in Mexico, and he came, and I think he played Mr. Perfect for the first one, and he was learning English, which I could tell you learning Spanish, it's hard to learn another language. He did great, but he would, like his line was like, I specialize in deep tissue massages. The way he said it was like, I specialize in deep tissue massages. That was the sexiest way to say massage. I too would like a massage.
It's hard to compete with Mr. Perfect.
Holly, so when Leo and Piper took a break, did you know that you guys would be getting back together?
No, not at that point, because we were trying to work out some logistical details, and actually in season 8, Dan was supposed to come back.
Look at all the faces.
But he was working for a network that would not allow him to leave. He said yes. He was willing to come back, but his network wouldn't let him go. Every time somebody releases them on YouTube, CBS pulls them down.
What?
As copyright infringement, which, by the way, because I love to argue with CBS, how is it copyright infringement if it's a blooper, so it wasn't scripted, so they don't own it?
No,
Wow,
it's
that's
us, it's us being us.
It's a moment. It's a free will moment. And therefore,
They owned or were renting the county,
they own the film.
And, you know.
Whatever.